You finally meet someone stable. They text back, they follow through, they are not hot and cold. There is no drama, no push and pull, no wondering where you stand. And something in you is completely uninterested, not because they are wrong for you, but because your nervous system does not recognize safety as love. It recognizes intensity as love. And when the intensity is gone, the feeling you call connection is gone with it. This is not a preference, this is a pattern, and it is quietly destroying your ability to build the relationships you say you want. Chapter 1. The real reason stability feels flat. Here is what is actually happening. When you grew up in an environment where love was inconsistent, where affection was warm one day and withdrawn the next, your brain built its definition of intimacy around uncertainty. The nervous system learned to associate love with activation, with the relief of reconnection after distance, with the high of finally being chosen after being kept waiting. That activation has a neurochemical signature, dopamine. Research by Helen Fisher at Rutgers University shows that unpredictable reward cycles produce significantly higher dopamine output than consistent ones. The brain does not release dopamine for things it can predict. It releases dopamine for things it is not sure it will get. This is the same mechanism behind slot machines. You are not addicted to the person, you are addicted to the uncertainty. When someone stable shows up, the uncertainty disappears, and so does the dopamine spike. What you interpret as lack of chemistry is actually the absence of a stress response your brain learned to confuse with love. Chapter 2. The nervous system mismatch. There is a second layer to this. Stephen Porges' polyvagal theory describes the state your nervous system enters when you feel genuinely safe, a regulated ventral vagal state characterized by ease, presence, and openness. This is the state that healthy relationships are built to sustain. But if your early relational experiences were chaotic or unpredictable, this state does not feel natural. It feels unfamiliar, exposed, almost suspicious. Your system is calibrated for activation, for hypervigilance, for reading the room. When none of that is required, the nervous system does not relax into comfort. It interprets the absence of threat as a new kind of threat. Something must be wrong. This person must be hiding something. You must not actually like them. This is why you convince yourself there's no spark. The spark you are looking for is cortisol. It is the stress response you learned to read as passion. Chapter 3. Why your brain labels it as boredom. Boredom is not a neutral experience. It is a signal your brain sends when stimulation drops below its established threshold. If your relational baseline was set high, built on anxiety, anticipation, and emotional unpredictability, then a calm relationship will read as understimulating by comparison, not because it lacks depth, but because depth without turbulence does not match the template. Psychiatrist and researcher Bessel van der Kolk is direct on this point. Trauma survivors often find themselves drawn to intensity because the nervous system has been trained to operate at a high baseline of arousal. Calm does not feel like peace. It feels like numbness. So you start searching. You look for signs of problems. You manufacture distance to recreate the familiar ache of longing. You tell yourself you are just not that into them, when what is actually happening is that your nervous system is attempting to recreate the conditions it was trained in. Chapter 4. What to do with this? You cannot think your way out of this, but you can do something more useful. You can learn to distinguish between two very different feelings that your brain has been filing under the same label. The first is the anxiety disguised as attraction you feel around unavailable, unpredictable, or emotionally activating people. Racing thoughts, hyper-awareness of their moods, relief when they finally give you attention. That is not chemistry. That is a trauma response with good marketing. The second is what genuine connection with a safe person actually feels like, and it is quieter than you expect. It feels like ease, like not having to perform, like saying something honest and not immediately bracing for the reaction. It does not spike the way intensity does, it builds. The clinical term for learning to tolerate and then value this state is nervous system regulation, and it requires deliberate, repeated exposure to safety until the baseline shifts. Therapist and researcher Diana Fosha, whose work on accelerated experiential dynamic psychotherapy focuses on transformative emotional experience, describes this as giving the nervous system new data, experiences of connection that do not end in abandonment, criticism, or withdrawal. You do not rewire this overnight, but you begin by catching the moment your brain calls safety boring and asking whether boring is actually the word, or whether what you're feeling is simply the unfamiliar absence of pain. Healthy love does not feel like a storm you're trying to survive. It feels like ground beneath your feet. If that sounds dull, it's not because you're incapable of depth. It's because somewhere along the way you were taught that love is supposed to hurt a little, that wanting someone who makes you anxious means you really want them, that the ache is the proof. It's not. The ache is the pattern. And patterns, unlike personalities, can change. Here's your challenge. Think of one stable, consistent person in your life, a friend, a partner, someone who has never given you a reason to doubt them. Notice whether your nervous system rates that relationship as less exciting than one built on uncertainty. Don't judge the rating, just observe it. That observation is the first data point in changing it. If this named something you've been living with, the next video goes deeper. Subscribe so you don't miss it.